Tuesday morning, I'm in our kitchen, whipping up pancakes, the smell of coffee filling the air. Tom, my husband, comes in, grabs a mug, and plants this kiss on my forehead like he's off to save the world, not just heading to his tech job. It was like something out of a cheesy rom-com, but it was our life, and I loved every bit of it. Fast forward to Friday night. We're at Luigi's, the kind of place where they know your order before you even sit down. Halfway through the meal, Tom drops this bombshell. He's like, "What do you think about us having an open relationship?" I nearly choked on my spaghetti. He said it'd make us stronger, but all I could think was, is this guy for real? Took me a whole week of, what the hell? Moments before I said yes. I figured, maybe it's like adding jalapenos to your pizza. You're scared it'll burn, but sometimes it just works. Tom was stoked, said it proved how much I trusted us. Then, bam, along comes Alex. Met him at this little gallery downtown. He had this vibe, you know, like he could see right through to your soul with that camera of his. I hadn't felt a spark like that since Tom. And when I told Tom about him, expecting World War III, he was all for it. Go explore, he said. I swear, if he was any more chill, he'd be a snowman. Alex and I hit it off big time. Ended up spending a weekend at this cabin he knew about. It was like stepping into another world, one where it was just us, our stories, and the stars. Felt like I was finding pieces of me I didn't even know were missing. But coming back home, that was like stepping into a freezer. Tom was distant, glued to his laptop, and every conversation felt like pulling teeth. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like I'd walked back into the wrong life. So, there you have it. My picture-perfect marriage was starting to look a little less perfect. And me? I was smack in the middle of it, trying to figure out if the heat I was feeling was from the new spice in my life or the beginning of a house fire. Let me tell you, nothing says, "Good morning," like finding a receipt for a diamond necklace you definitely didn't get for your birthday. It was just another Tuesday, or so I thought, until I reached into Tom's coat for the car keys and out comes this piece of paper that might as well have been a grenade. And that wasn't the end of it. Tucked behind it was a hotel booking for a weekend I spent at my sister's. Talk about a wake-up call, right? I spent the whole day pacing around the house, that receipt burning a hole in my pocket. Part of me wanted to just throw it in his face the second he walked through the door and watch him squirm. But then what? I couldn't shake this fear that confronting him would be the final nail in the coffin of whatever was left of us. So, I chickened out. I decided to play the part of the clueless wife a little longer. That's where Alex came in. Remember Alex? The photographer with the soulful eyes and a laugh that made you forget your troubles? I called him up, half hoping he wouldn't answer so I could say I tried. But he did, and before I knew it, I was pouring my heart out to him over coffee in this dimly lit cafe that suddenly felt like the only safe place in the world. Alex, bless his heart, didn't even try to offer solutions. He just listened, and sometimes, that's all you need, you know? The plot, as they say, thickened when I bumped into Sarah at the grocery store. Sarah's one of those people who knows everything about everyone. She casually mentioned seeing Tom out with this young intern from his office. They looked cozy, she said, stirring her coffee, oblivious to the bomb she'd just dropped. My head was spinning. Was this the mystery girl from the receipt? I couldn't just sit and stew in my own jealousy and hurt. I needed to know more. So, I did what any sane person would do in the 21st century. I hired a private investigator. Sounds drastic, I know, but desperate times call for desperate measures. A week later, I got an email that felt like a punch to the gut. Photos of Tom and the intern, looking way too close for comfort, and a string of messages that left nothing to the imagination. Armed to the teeth with evidence, I waited for Tom to come home. My heart was racing as I laid it all out on the table, literally. The photos, the messages, the receipts. His face went through 50 shades of red and white. And then, the kicker, he blamed our open relationship. Said it was yes, that opened this Pandora's box. As if his lying and cheating were somehow my fault. It was surreal, standing there, watching the man I married try to squirm his way out of the web of lies he'd spun. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something. But I didn't. I just stood there, silently mourning the death of the trust and love I thought we had. It was clear as day that whatever we had, or thought we had, was gone. And no amount of talking was going to bring it back. So, where did we leave off? Oh, right, the showdown. Picture this. It's D-Day in our cozy living room, which suddenly feels more like a battleground. I'm there, standing my ground, while Tom's on the couch, looking like a kid who got caught stealing cookies. I lay it out for him, plain and simple. It's her or me, Tom. Your call. I felt like one of those badass heroines from the movies, you know? But here's the kicker, Tom, he doesn't miss a beat. Looks me dead in the eyes and says, I choose her. I love her. Just like that. As if our years together meant nothing. As if they were just a prelude to this intern. Talk about a gut punch. I was so stunned, I couldn't even cry. It was like all the air got sucked out of the room. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in this stark, too bright office across from a lawyer who's rattling off about assets, custody, alimony. Words that felt too cold and clinical for something as messy as a broken heart. I nod along, pretending to understand, pretending I'm not just thinking about how it all came to this. Then the divorce proceedings start, and let me tell you, it's like war. Every meeting, every call, it's just attack and defend. Tom and I, we turned into strangers, throwing barbs over who gets the coffee table and who screwed up more. The whole thing felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart on some trashy TV drama. But here's where I decided I wasn't going to just roll over and play dead. I was hurt, sure, but I was also angry. Furious, actually. So, I cooked up a little plan to even the score. I had all this dirt on Tom's affair, thanks to my detective stint, and what better way to use it than to send it all to his company's HR? Anonymously, of course. I was shaking as I hit send on that email, but boy, did it feel good. Didn't take long for the bomb to go off. Tom got suspended, pending an investigation. His perfect career, the one he always put before everything else, was suddenly on the line. And me? I couldn't help but smile at the thought of him squirming, trying to explain his way out of this mess. So, there I was, feeling like I'd scored a point in this twisted game. But it was a hollow victory, you know? It didn't bring back what we had, didn't heal any wounds. It just made me one of those people who sought revenge. And let me tell you, sitting alone in that big, empty house, I realized revenge might taste sweet, but it sure as hell doesn't fill you up. You know, when you start down a path of revenge, they say you should dig 2 graves. I never really got that until now. So, after the whole HR debacle, I wasn't done yet. Nope, I had more cards to play in this twisted game. I went full scorched earth and leaked the whole sordid affair to every industry blog that would listen. And boy, did they eat it up. Tom's name was mud, plastered across headlines and trending on social media like some kind of cautionary tale. I remember sitting there, scrolling through the comments, seeing the world tear him apart. Part of me was thrilled, like I was finally getting some justice. But another part? It felt like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrifying, but you can't look away. Then came the divorce settlement. The day we signed those papers was supposed to feel like victory. I walked away with the house, a fat chunk of his assets, and a sense of triumph. But as I stood there, in that big, empty house that used to be our home, the wind felt empty. It was just me and the echoes of a life that used to be. And Alex, the one person who'd been my solace through this storm. He dropped the news like a bombshell. He was leaving, moving abroad for a job opportunity he couldn't pass up. Just like that, I was alone. Again. It felt like the universe was playing some cruel joke on me, stripping away the people I cared about one by one. With the divorce public and the scandal all anyone could talk about, my social circle shrank to the size of a postage stamp. Friends we'd shared for years suddenly had other commitments, and the invites dried up. I was the pariah, the woman who'd aired her dirty laundry for the world to see, and now I was paying the price. Sitting in that silence, the weight of my decisions pressing down on me, I started to reflect. What had all this revenge gotten me? Sure. Tom was suffering, his career and reputation in tatters. But me? I was more alone than ever, haunted by the ghost of our marriage and the love we used to share. The satisfaction I thought I'd feel was just a mirage, leaving me emptier than before. It hit me then, that saying about 2 graves. My revenge hadn't just destroyed Tom, it had taken a piece of me with it. I'd set out to make him pay, but in the end, the cost was mine to bear. I was left to wonder, was it worth it? The answer, as I sat in the quiet of my too big, too empty house, was clear. No, it wasn't. So, there I was, trying to stitch my life back together, one piece at a time. I figured, hey, why not dive into something new, right? So, I picked up painting. Not that I was any Picasso, but slapping paint on a canvas felt kinda therapeutic. And I even joined this local book club, trying to find some kind of connection, some sort of distraction from the mess. But here's the thing about trying to fill a void. It's like throwing pebbles into an ocean and expecting a splash. The loneliness was still there, gnawing at me. Every brushstroke, every page turn, I was reminded of what I'd lost. It wasn't just Tom I missed. It was the us we used to be, the team, the partnership. And the money? Sure. The divorce settlement left me financially secure, more or less. But every time I looked at something I bought with that money, it felt like I was trying to buy happiness. Spoiler alert. It doesn't work. There's this emptiness that fancy things just can't fill, a kind of hollow feeling when you realize that no amount of shopping sprees can patch up a broken heart. Then came the party. You know, one of those gatherings you go to, telling yourself you're back in the game. Except, there he was, Tom, looking like he hadn't a care in the world, laughing and chatting with the intern, now not so much an intern from the looks of it. Seeing them together, so happy, it was like a punch to the gut. We ended up talking, if you can call it that. It was the most awkward exchange, all polite nods and cold smiles. None of the warmth, the inside jokes, or the easy banter we used to have. It was like talking to a stranger who looked a lot like the man I married. I walked away from that conversation feeling colder than I had in a long time. And just when I thought I'd hit rock bottom, I heard through the grapevine that Tom had landed some big shot position at a rival company. Great, right? Good for him. Except, hearing about his success felt like salt on an open wound. It wasn't that I wanted him to fail, but it made me wonder what I was doing with my life. That's when it hit me. The real loss wasn't just Tom or the marriage. It was me. I'd lost myself in this whole ordeal, caught up in revenge and bitterness. And for what? He'd moved on, and here I was, stuck in the past, nursing my wounds. So, yeah, there I was, trying to figure out my next move. Starting over sounded great on paper, but the reality was a lot messier. It was like I was learning to live all over again, trying to find joy in the little things and make peace with the big things. Not easy, let me tell you. But maybe, just maybe, it was possible. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. Picture this. I'm sipping my morning coffee, already dreading the day, when I get this letter. Tom's suing me. For defamation, no less, because of the whole scandal I'd unleashed. It felt like a bad joke, you know? Here I was, barely hanging on, and now this. The community backlash was swift and brutal. Friends, or what I thought were friends, turned their backs on me. Whispers at the grocery store, pointed stares at the post office, and an inbox full of hate mail. It was like I was the villain in their story, the one who'd stirred the pot too much. I tried to keep my head high, but let me tell you, it was tough. So, I started to rebuild. Or at least, I tried to. I threw myself into work, took up jogging, anything to find a semblance of normalcy. But it's hard to rebuild when the foundation's been rocked, you know? Everything felt off, like I was living someone else's life and doing a pretty bad job at it. Then came the holidays. You don't realize how much you lean on another person until you're going through the motions alone. Decorating the tree, watching those cheesy movies, even cooking dinner. It all felt empty. The loneliness was like a constant shadow, a reminder of everything that had gone wrong. The court date loomed over me like a dark cloud. Standing there, in front of the judge, facing Tom and his lawyer, I've never felt so small. He looked at me, but there was nothing there. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. It was like we were strangers. And when the judge ruled in his favor, ordering me to pay damages, it was the final nail in the coffin. Not just for our marriage, but for the life I'd known. I walked out of that courtroom feeling defeated. The weight of my choices, of my revenge, hit me like a ton of bricks. Financially, I was a mess. Emotionally, even worse. It was in that moment, walking alone to my car, that I finally understood the cost of my actions. I'd wanted to make Tom pay, to hurt him like he'd hurt me, that in the end, the person who paid the highest price was me. Reflecting on everything, I realized revenge might offer a momentary satisfaction, but it's fleeting. And the aftermath, the loneliness, the community turning their back on me, the legal mess, it wasn't worth it. I'd lost so much more than I'd gained. I wish I could say I found some profound peace or that I had an epiphany about forgiveness, but life isn't a movie. All I knew was that I needed to find a way forward, to somehow pick up the pieces of my life and start again. But this time, I knew revenge wouldn't be part of the story. So, here's the deal. I've been trying to move on, really trying. Focusing on work, hitting the gym, even took up meditation. Anything to stop the past from haunting every waking moment. But it's like my life's become this movie on repeat, where every good part is shadowed by what went down with Tom. Then, as if I needed more drama, work hit a snag. Projects I was banking on got shelved, and those legal battles? They just kept coming, like waves crashing over me, each one threatening to pull me under. It felt like every step forward ended with me 2 steps back. In the midst of this chaos, I found a sliver of hope, or so I thought. Started volunteering at this local charity, helping out at the food bank. It was supposed to be my shot at redemption, a way to make something right in a world where I'd made so much go wrong. For a while, it felt good, meaningful even. But at the end of the day, I'd go home to an empty house, the silence a stark reminder of my solitude. That's the thing about professional success. It's supposed to make you feel accomplished, proud. But every achievement felt hollow, echoing in the emptiness of my place. There was no one to share it with, no one to say, "Hey, great job." It's like I'd built this wall around myself, brick by brick, and now I was trapped inside it. One night, sitting in the quiet of my too big, too empty living room, it all hit me. The weight of everything that had happened, the choices I'd made, and where those choices had led me. It was this moment of painful clarity, realizing that the damage done wasn't just to my marriage or my social life, but to my very soul. I'd changed, morphed into someone I barely recognized. Someone who chose revenge over healing, isolation over forgiveness. And in that solitary reflection, the truth was undeniable. I'd lost more than a husband. I'd lost a part of myself, that hopeful, loving part that believed in second chances and happy endings. The journey from love to betrayal to revenge had left me a stranger in my own life. So, here I am, acknowledging the change, the transformation that's been both armor and prison. I sit alone, not just in my home, but in my existence, pondering what comes next. The future stretches out, a blank canvas that's both terrifying and liberating. There's no redemption arc waiting, no magical resolution to tie up the loose ends. The story ends not with a bang, but with a whisper, a quiet acceptance of the solitude that's become my companion, the peace found in surrendering to the journey, no matter how lonely it may be. It's not the ending I wanted, nor the one I worked for, but it's where I am. And maybe, just maybe, it's the first step toward something new, something real. After all, when you've got nothing left to lose, you're free to find yourself.